We're talking about facing fears, which is going to be super fun. Hey, what do you think about, look, I have these weird little hairs. It's like about to storm any minute. I think we have a monsoon rolling in. So my office, like all the lights are on in my office. It's still dark. But look, this is what I can't stop looking at. Like these little wiry hairs on top are like, what up, people? They're like so happy to see you. What's up, Lisa? Hey, Cherry. Oh my gosh, you just missed a really bad hair joke that I told. Okay. So, shall we begin? Oh, yeah, I think we should. All right, so here's what we're talking about today. 224, I'm just going to write that down. That's when I started talking. From yikes to yes, all right? This is, I know, people say, oh, face your fears, blah, 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 whatever. I'm going to tell you a very specific way to face your fears that is not daunting. In fact, anybody can do it. It's really easy to do. And it's a way that you can start really small, like baby steps, and start to see some big results fairly quickly. All right. So that's what we're working on today. So we would be remiss not to start by telling the truth about fear, right? So what is fear? Fear is an illusion. It's not even real. I know it feels hella real when you're in it. When you're sitting in it, it's like, it feels palpable, right? But it actually is just an illusion. And years ago, when I was in like network marketing and stuff like that, we had an expression. I mean, it wasn't like our expression, but you've probably heard this if you've ever done sales, that because this is a big part of sales, when you go into sales, it's like you have to overcome fears, right? It's fear of talking to strangers. It's fear of asking people to buy something from you. It's fear of rejection. It's like all this kind of stuff. Hey, Michelle. So training around overcoming fear often goes hand in hand with sales training, right? Which we're not going to talk about sales training today, but this is what I'm going to tell you today. You're going to be able to apply. It could literally impact every aspect of your life, right? So you could be bolder, more confident, more courageous, and not fearless, because we don't ever like, I know, right? But now that I've pointed them out, Lisa, you can't stop looking at them, right? My little hairs. I think they're funny. They're cracking me up. If they bothered me enough, I could pull them out, but they're like, I think they're kind of cute in a way. So I have no product in my hair at all. So that's why they're not laying down today. Hey, Jessica, welcome. Yeah, the feelings feel really real, right? I mean, all feelings feel really real, but fear especially. So there's this little, like, you know, quote or little expression we used to use when I was in sales that says, what fear stands for is false expectations appearing real, right? So see how that spells out fear? False. I'm typing it out so slow. I know. I'm sorry. Oh, I can't talk and type. You guys know that about me by now. That's fear right there. False. Hey. Oh, I put the F on the same line. I was trying to do something cool and Facebook screwed it up. But yeah, false expectations appearing real. That's what fear is. So think about that. It's like, okay, think about anything. Name anything right now that you're afraid of, right? You might be afraid of not being able to pay a certain bill when it's due, or you might be afraid of, maybe one of your kids just started driving and you're afraid that they might get in an accident. You might be afraid that, if you do a Facebook Live, people might think you're a fraud. You might be afraid that a certain pair of jeans makes you look fat or makes your butt look big. You might be afraid of having hairs sticking up right now that no one can see, right? Except that you can't see, but everyone else can see. It doesn't really matter if it's big or small, okay? Because what I'm talking about to you today, what we're talking about today, applies to any size fear, okay? So just hold one in your mind for this first part of this session, so you can think about that. So think about a fear that you have. Is it real? Not the feeling. I know the feeling feels real. I get that this is, you legitimately are concerned or have a fear about this. Okay, I'm not questioning that. But this thing that you're afraid of, is that real? I mean, if your kid just started driving, are they in an accident right now? Are they even in their car right now? Like, what is that? No, it's an expectation, right? It's an expectation of what could happen, what could go wrong. And it's the same way if you have like a fear of rejection. It's not because you're being rejected right now. That's what makes it an illusion, is the thing that you fear is not happening right now. It either happened in the past and it was really unpleasant for you and you're dragging that into the future, or you heard about somebody that it happened to or whatever. So it's in the past and you're dragging it into the future, or you're projecting it into the future as an expectation. Okay, but it is not real, because right now in this moment, it is not happening. And what do we know about fear? It carries a tremendous charge around it. Fear actually has a lot of power. I mean, Hitler was able to do everything that he did because of the way that he got people enrolled in that fear that he created, right? It's like he knew how to manipulate fear. He knew the power of fear for getting people on board with what was his vision. So people that lead by fear, I mean, granted, he's an extreme example, but it's, you know, one that we can all like understand, right? And what happens when someone is able to lead by fear. So, I mean, some people parent by fear too, right? So people run their relationships out of fear. You know, it comes up a lot. It could be a tool that people use for manipulation, but it's not what's happening in the present. That's what makes it an illusion. It's the prospect of this happening, the idea of this happening, the expectation, right? That's why these are false expectations appearing real. But when we take that emotional charge and we pull it into the way we're feeling in this present moment, that's why it feels real. That's why the fear feels compelling to us. It feels like a thing that we need to be worried about, right? Even though if we sit down to really analyze it, that's when we can see this is not real. Hey, Peggy, like this is a false thing, okay? But fear holds a lot of power and a lot of charge. And not just in the conversation about manipulation, but about manifestation, right? You remember that old saying? I think it's from the Bible, right? Where it says, that which I have feared most has come upon me. When we are fearful of something, we're creating a lot of energy around it without intending to, right? It's like, let's pick heights, okay? Like a fear of heights. Let's say that you have a fear of heights, or you could substitute whatever fear I asked you to identify instead of this. But if you have a fear of heights, what happens? You're going to keep finding yourself in situations where you don't want to look down, and there's a huge temptation to do so, right? I had a client once that had a pretty strong fear of heights. And so naturally, she had manifested a job where she worked on the 23rd floor. That which I have feared most has come upon me. This is true, that expression, that quote from the Bible, pretty sure it's Bible, but clearly I'm not like super up on my Bible study stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where that came from. And the reason that's true, like absolutely true, is because by being afraid of something, we are giving it energy. And therefore, it is creating a charge, an energetic charge around it. The same way that you would create an energetic charge around something that you really desire that's on your vision board, or something that you visualize, or something that you intend, right? It's the same thing. It's just, are you putting energy towards something that you want or that you don't want? Because if you put it towards what you don't want, stop it. Why are you doing that? Stop doing it. right? Well, that's easier said than done, because if you're afraid of something, it's scary. It's scary. And so you're kind of scared of it. And that's why the fear is there. Okay. But you got to remember that by being afraid, you're giving it energy. For me, this was a huge motivator, because I was like, you know what, damn it. It takes energy to visualize and to intend and to be clear and to have goals and have intentions and have objectives and to move forward. And so I'm being counterproductive, because I like efficiency. So for me, that was a motivator. Like, oh, wait, hold on. I'm being counterproductive by continuing to hold on to fears, because now I'm sending energy in a direction that is in direct opposition to the thing that I actually want, the outcome that I actually want to create. And so that was, in many cases, is my motivator to removing fears, clearing them, releasing them, letting them go. But something interesting happened, and this is what I want to share with you. I sort of accidentally started removing fears. I didn't realize the impact that this would have on my life when I started doing it, but it has been profound. And this is what I want to share with you today. But first, let's have a super quick conversation about neural pathways in the brain. Okay, these neural pathways are what reinforce patterns. And I'll make this quick, because some of you, I bet, have heard me talk about this before. So you have these pathways. I like to think of it like a hiking trail, which is ironic because I really don't hike like at all. But this is really the best analogy that I can give you. So when something fires in your brain and then you associate something else with it, your brain creates a neural pathway connecting those two concepts. So if you have the Spiritual Ass Kickers Discovery Deck, there's a card in there called Rewiring. You're actually changing your neural pathways. It means like you got something linked to something that didn't belong together, right? So for example, you might have heights linked with scary, terrifying, death, accident, pain, plummeting, whatever. In your brain, if you got a fear of heights, it's because you've got heights linked to something super scary and negative. Okay. And it keeps getting reinforced. That's what happens with these neural pathways. So you think, the first time you go hiking, if you take a path, if it's new ground or new development, or you take a path that's off the path, like let's say a tree falls in the path and you have to go around it. Well, if nobody comes to clear out that tree, now the first person that goes around it isn't going to make much of a pathway, right? In fact, they're going to have to kind of take their time and navigate around and like, what's the best way to get around this fallen tree, right? But let's say they have 5 more people with them, like it's a group going hiking. Well, that's 5 sets of footsteps going on that same pathway, right? And maybe they take that same pathway back and they've just reinforced it 12 times. And then they come back the next day and they do the same hike, right? Can you see how every time it's repeated, you're reinforcing that path? Versus if somebody came and moved the tree and people started using the main path again, that other path would grow over and just look like brush after a while, right? It was just like forest or whatever. You wouldn't even see it. Okay, neural pathways work the same way. Every time those two things fire together, that pathway gets stronger, deeper, more ingrained. And then it's going to feel very weird to go a different way. Like, are you ever, it's like if you're hiking and you sort of get lost. When I'm walking, I get lost in my thoughts a lot, right? It like walking unlocks a lot of stuff for me mentally, but in a good way. But if I'm walking and I'm on a path or even the sidewalk, it doesn't even have to be like a hiking path, right? Because I'm more likely to walk on a sidewalk than a hiking path. But I'm not going to suddenly find myself in the middle of a field. No, like no matter how engrossed I get with my thoughts, I'm going to stay on the path. Like that's just, the path is there. Neural pathways work the same way. If we're not consciously shifting to connect 2 different things in the brain, those same 2 things are going to keep firing. This is how patterns get reinforced. This is why patterns are hard to break. Okay? Because that first time feels super weird. It's just like if you like stop and go, okay, I see the path here, but I'm going to, for some reason, go this other way. That's essentially what's happening in your brain. So whatever it is that you identified earlier in this session that you're like, I'm kind of afraid of, you have that thing hooked up with fear. There's some reason that you've created this link between the two things in your mind. Now, maybe it really is scary. Like maybe you're like, I live in the mountains and I'm afraid of being attacked by a mountain lion, right? Like that could potentially happen. I'm sure there's ways to mitigate that, like not carrying food with you if you go on a hike or like whatever, right? I'm sure that, we're not going out at the times of day when mountain lions feed or are more active and aggressive or whatever. But you may also have fears that are kind of like, if you really stop to think about them, are kind of wackadoo, right? Like maybe you live, in the deep South close to the coastline and you're afraid of being eaten by a mountain lion. That's probably from a past life, right? But you've still got it wired. Okay? And so what'll happen is you'll attract things that keep reinforcing that. No matter if you live in the mountains or down in the deep South, if you have an intense fear of mountain lions, you will keep manifesting reasons for that neural pathway to get reinforced. Like you'll be flipping channels and, some National Geographic special will be on and you'll happen to flip by right as the mountain lion is like, biting into its prey. And you'll be like, terrifying, change channel. You'll drop the remote. You won't be able to change channel. This is exactly how fear works, right? Fear begets fear. So it just keeps growing. And that pathway is like 50 people just ran that hiking trail between mountain lion and fear. Okay. So this is how these patterns get reinforced. So how we break the pattern is what I call pattern shatter. And it's as simple as doing something different, right? Now, it's essentially rewiring your brain around fear. Now, there's like a lot of ways to do this, but I promise I'm going to give you this one super simple way today, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Okay, so here's how this came about. So my good friend, Terry Go, she and I started doing this thing. Actually, it's been over a year. I think I might have talked to you guys about this, how we call it laying bricks, right? And it means every day, if you think about it, every day at your work or your job or in your personal relationships or in your personal life or in your health and wellness or whatever, every day you take steps toward things, right? Like you might go to the gym and work out, or you might cook a healthy meal, or you might, set up a date night with your spouse of 20 years because you're like wanting to rekindle romance or whatever. Or you might reach out to 5 people in your business because you want to, have more clients or make more connections this week or whatever. So we take actions every day, right? And some of the actions we take are like, things that we have to do or whatever. And some of the actions are things that we're actually moving forward to take active steps in. So what Terry and I decided over a year ago is that we would start reporting to each other, kind of like accountability partners, but not better, different. We would start reporting to each other all of our bricks. So we exchange emails every day. Every day I email her and she emails me and says, here's my bricks. We actually break them out, business and personal. And there's something for us, and it's never, ever like, well, hey, I thought you were going to do such and such this week. Have you not done that yet? Or, well, you said you were going to get this done by Thursday. Looks like you didn't get it done until Friday. So what can we do next time to improve? Which is what I associate with accountability partners. Like, again, there's like a little bit of fear the way most people do accountability partners even, because it's like, oh, I need to do this. Otherwise I'm going to have to face the disappointment of this person. Like, I don't want to have to tell this person. Accountability partners, kind of like when we can't be accountable to ourselves, is sort of a little smidge of pain to be accountable to someone else. And it makes us do what we said we were going to do, right? That's not the kind of thing that Terry and I are doing. This is way more supportive. It's like somehow it helps each of us to know that another person is actually reading and recognizing what we did today. And some days we don't personally feel great about what we get. Maybe we weren't feeling well, or the day didn't go the way we planned, or things didn't quite pan out. Like we made 20 phone calls and left 20 messages because no one was there, or whatever. And when that happens, we might, be like, here's my bricks, whatever. It's not great, but it is what it is. Right. And then the other person will read it and they'll be like, are you kidding me? You were sick and you still got all this done? That's amazing. So it's more encouraging than anything else. It's not really like accountability. It's just connection is really what it is, to know that someone else is actually reading what you did today. We just do bulleted lists, whatever. All right. So we've been doing that for over a year now. I think actually probably 14 months by this point. It's amazing what shifted as a result of that too. Right. And how we actually both look forward to reading each other's bricks and sending our own bricks every day. We love it. So, but about, I don't know how many, if Terry's on, she could probably tell you, but I don't remember. I feel like maybe 6 months ago or something. It feels like it was around the start of this year. Yeah, it was. It was the start of this year because I set my boom word for 2018 is bold. And it occurred to me that I wasn't when you set an intention like that, okay, this is going to be a bold year for me, you kind of start noticing all the places where that word isn't, right? Just like if you set a word, if your boom word for 2018 was organized, you probably started to become acutely aware at a granular level of all the spaces in your home and your office that were not organized well. Right. And you're like, ooh, and that's not in line with my boom word. And that's not in line with my boom word. Right. So that's what happened to me too, is I was like, oh, I'm kind of being a wuss about that. And wow, I'm kind of chickened out on this other thing over here. And why haven't I taken action on that? I think I'm a little nervous about it or whatever. I started noticing all the places in my life where I was not being bold. And so I decided, I added a little so I had business bricks every day when I'd email Terry. I'd have business bricks, personal bricks, things I did today that scared me. And can I tell you, the first time I wrote that, it was a little scary because I was telling her, I'm like, I think I'm going to start including things that scare me. And then I was like, oh shit, I just told another person I'm going to do this. Now I actually have to do it. What am I thinking? Right? So even that was scary, just making the commitment to start doing things that scared me. And in the beginning, they were eensy weensy, right? I mean, it was little things. It was I don't even know. I can't even remember in the beginning, but I can promise you they were tiny. We'll talk about some specific examples. But I want to tell you what happened, and then I'm going to tell you to do it, okay? So what happened was I just would put sometimes it would be one thing. Sometimes it'd be three things. But they were all so small. They were in the grand scheme of life, they were toothpick size. Okay. And then they just started getting bigger. Now, I never set the intention for this to happen. All I committed to was, you know what? I'm going to start doing a little thing every day that scares me. I could not have predicted how my life would shift around that. It was so remarkable. Because what I started to note, first off, I also thought oh, I want to be more bold. I'll just start doing this. It sort of seemed a way to move in the direction of my goal without making a big dramatic commitment or time commitment or resources or energy or it was kind of well, I'll just baby step this out. Right. So I was taking little tiny steps, but holy crap, what happened? First off, from day 2, shit started moving. I mean, really good stuff. People that I hadn't worked with in years were suddenly showing up out of the blue and wanting to work with me again. Money started showing up from everywhere. And I'm like, there's no way this is coincidental. No way. Right. So immediately it was I was getting validation from the universe. And I'm telling you this because if you choose to take on this challenge, these are some of the things you can watch for, right? So I knew I was on the right track because I started getting immediate reinforcement and validation from the universe, right? Which also, think about that neural pathway. If I had, asking for help from someone as a fear, or if I had, asking to collaborate with someone as a fear, or reaching out to someone who has a way bigger social media presence than me as a fear, or whatever. If I had those things linked to fear, the first time was going to feel super weird, right? Like, because of course my brain was going to be like, that's scary, it's pulling you right over to fear. And it's like, no, I'm just going to do it anyway. And it's like a little thing, but then it was like, oh, nothing bad happened. In fact, something good happened. Immediately, that started to break that pattern. That started to dismantle that neural pathway and start linking things to more positive outcomes in my brain, right? So the first thing that I noticed was positive reinforcement from the universe, which I took as validation, like, okay, Amy, you're on the right track. Good job. Keep it up, right? The second thing that I noticed is that I quickly ramped up what my definition of scary was. Because in the beginning, it was little things, because I really didn't want to like dive in. I was kind of sticking a toe in the water, right? Like, maybe I haven't wanted to call this person back because I'm a little nervous. Let me just call them back. I've been thinking about so-and-so, but I haven't talked to them in 5 years, and the way it ended didn't go great. So I kind of want to call them, but I'm a little nervous, right? It was little things. And then what happened was overcoming those little fears gave me, and then getting such good positive stuff from the universe, like really reinforced, like, oh, this is working. This is a good thing. This isn't so scary anymore. And I started taking bigger and bigger and bolder tasks that I would take on, that I would do, right? And what's really interesting, the other thing that I noticed is absolutely nothing negative came out of the entire experiment. Not one negative thing. And I thought, wow, if that doesn't reinforce, I heard a statistic years ago, and this just reinforced that statistic. 90% of the things that we worry about never come to pass. 90%. I remember I was in my 20s when I heard this, and I was like, done worrying. What a colossal waste of time. Like 90% are never going to happen. And I forget what the percentage is. It was in my very first ebook, because there was statistics on it. I don't remember what it is now, but I remember 90% of the stuff that we worry about is never happening. It's not even going to happen. So you're wasting your time, effort, energy by worrying about it. And then there was a percentage of the remaining 10% that was like, and then there's a percentage of stuff that you worry about that is in the past. So you can't even change it. So there's no point worrying about it. And then there was a percentage that worrying about it actually makes it worse, like your health, right? Because the stress of worry actually can exacerbate a lot of conditions. And then there's like this little sliver of things that you worry about that actually will happen. And in most of those cases, you can't do anything about it anyway. So what good did it do you to worry? Fascinating, right? But this totally reinforced that for me, because I thought, holy crap, I've been doing all this stuff, taking all these risks because I perceived them as risks. There was a risk of rejection. Like you could call somebody up from your past and they could be like, F you, I don't ever want to talk to you again. That doesn't feel super great, right? That feels pretty crappy. So literally everything I was afraid of did not happen. And either nothing happened or something positive happened. Like there was either a totally neutral outcome or a tremendously positive outcome. So that started weakening whatever's in my brain around fear to all sorts of other things. Taking a chance, risking, going out on a limb, whatever expression you use. The link to fear from all of those things started getting weaker and weaker and weaker because there was less to fear. Because fear is false expectations appearing real. And it started to prove to me just how false these expectations were, because so many positive things started coming out of it. Now, I will tell you, this is actually how Lightworkers Guide came to be, because I didn't want to write a book for newbies. I don't usually work with people that are new to this kind of stuff. I work with people that have been doing this a long time, have hit a wall, and they're like, I need somebody awesome to like break me through this wall. Hi, enter Amy, right? That's usually how this goes. But when this came up, like, yeah, you're supposed to write a book with Terry. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really like a write a book with kind of person, right? Like I stick my head down and I'm totally in the zone and I just do my thing. So it was like scary because it was a collaboration. I had a huge fear around doing a book with Terry Robnett because many of my previous business partnerships ended up, when the partnership didn't work out, the friendship didn't work out either. I would say in about half of the cases where I partnered with somebody on a business thing, we weren't friends after that. So, and I love Terry Robnett, right? And I was like, that was scary for me because I'm like, if we write this book together, it doesn't work out and we're not friends, like I'm really not okay with that, right? But so I don't know that I would have approached her about like, hey, we're supposed to do some kind of book together if I hadn't been doing these particular bricks with Terry Go and had already like built up this confidence. And then it was like, oh my God, I was so freaking proud to share that. Guess what I did today that scared me? I called so-and-so. I did this. I sent this message. I put this post up. I love that. I took a picture of myself in a swimsuit. No, I didn't, but there's just no need for that. But like, really, it's like the more stuff I did, the easier it gets because I was rewiring my brain to be less afraid by taking these tiny little things. Okay. So that's what there is for you. That's what there is for you. Oh my gosh, you guys have been posting comments and the thing hasn't been scrolling, so I haven't even seen them. So let me take a minute and tell you exactly. But bees. Okay, Cherry's afraid of bees. Yeah, I get that. I had to clear a fear of bees because when I was 6, I was standing on the porch chewing gum. And I was just chewing gum, just standing there watching my mom. We had this like little strip of grass behind the patio before the fence. And my mom was just mowing this little strip and I was just watching her and this bee came up and stung me right on the chin. I mean, I didn't do anything. And that's what was so upsetting for me, right? I hadn't done anything. So I had a fear of bees for a long time for that reason. Can you see how in that situation, I was dragging the past into the present? Like there's every time since then, when I've been around bees, there's been no real threat. But in my mind, there was. Because if I could be 6 and minding my own business and get stung on the face by a bee, they could sting me in the eye next time. Like how, it's like, this is how fears grow. So, yes, the projected circumstances. Exactly. And Terry said, no expectations, no disappointments. All right. Kind of like pain is a message to change or heal. That could actually be a belief, right? But yes, exactly. For me, it was like noticing that was like, oh, here's what's coming up to be shifted, right? All right. Terry Robnett put big yes. Yes. I'm not sure what that was too, but all right, cool. I'll take it. Yeah. So Peggy's says, I have a fear about being able to support myself when I retire. You're not the only one with that fear. I talked to a lot of people that have that same fear. Jackie loved my mountain lion impression. I know, right? So dramatic. I keep thinking like, should I get back into theater? And then I remember, oh, right, I can't sing or dance. So no, probably not. But okay. And like Courtney says, this is why I've always avoided accountability partnerships, right? Exactly. That is revolutionary. This could totally be your next book. I'm in love with this concept. Maybe. I don't know about my next book. It's going to have to get in line because I started working on the novel series today, but more about that later. Yeah, Lisa said that blows. I'm thinking about the relationships dying. Yeah, Terry, that happened to me 3 times. Yep. Terry is a gentle hedgehog. She is kind of like Sonic, right? Like she goes like a million miles an hour all the time. Fear is conditioning. Yeah. So if fear is conditioning, if we conditioned ourselves into fear, right? I was conditioned to be afraid of bees because I got stung for no reason when I was a little kid, right? But I was able to condition myself out of that. Now, there's different levels of conditioning yourself out of that. I have no desire to like put on a beekeeper's hat and reach into a hive and pull out some honey. And not just because I saw the bee movie and now that feels like stealing, but I don't want to do that. right? I don't have a desire to do that. You might, Cherry might, she might be like, well, that's how I'll prove to myself that I'm really over bees. I don't really need that. For me, being able to sit down and have a picnic or eat outside in the summer and not flip my shit when a bee comes flying by or lands on my drink or whatever, because in the past, that's what would have happened is I'd have had to get up and leave. I would have like gone out off the patio and stayed in my car and said, you text me when that bee's gone and I'll be back, maybe. Or just wrap up my food. I'm ready to go. Right? So for me, it's fine for me to be able to just sit and be like, oh, look, a bee. Interesting. Okay. Still there? Okay. But the fact that I could still sit and not be like super affected by it. Right? That's, when we, on the VIP day on retreat, like a bee came and like got in my Ziploc bag and in my sandwich. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know that they liked meat or whatever. And then he like took a piece of meat and he left. And I was like, oh, bees eat turkey. That seems odd to me, but okay. Right? I did get up and I was like, I'm just going to step back because I didn't really want to eat the sandwich while the bee was on, like in the Ziploc bag with it. But whatever. But it was still like, to me, that was progress enough, right? And that's the thing about conditioning is like you get to decide how much is enough. Okay. But here's how I did it and how you can do it too. Okay. Start ridiculously small. I mean, like eensy weensy teeny tiny. Okay. I wish I could remember what the first things were that I put on that first message to Terry Go, but I'm sure that they were really small. Like, I don't even know. I can't even think, like, I can't think to when I had like that much fear and like what would have been a big deal for me. But I promise you they were tiny. Like it might have been like wear a color that I'm not accustomed to, which by the way, Terry Go is now doing, right? She's got this new magenta lipstick that she looks amazing in. But she's like, it's a magenta. I'm like, yeah, but you look great. So who cares, right? That was like an example of a small fear. Like, I'm going to wear magenta lipstick to my like high profile corporate job. Really? But she did it and it looks awesome. She's like, oh, did that. What else could I do? Right? What else could she do? So they could start out like that small, like wearing a color lipstick that you have never tried before, right? Or, what else? What else, you guys? Why don't you guys post some stuff? Like, what's a really, really tiny thing that you'd be willing to commit to doing this week? That's something that's made you nervous. It could be reaching out to someone to ask for help or to ask for their advice or to ask them to be in your book or to be a client or to buy something of yours, or to, I don't know. It could be really small. Okay. It could be trying a food you never tried before because it looks weird or you're maybe the last time you ate it, you threw up and you're like, I've never eaten that since. And you're like, well, I could actually eat that. Right. I used to do this thing where, now I've pretty much tried everything, but years ago, I wanted to be like a little more adventurous, right? And so every time I went to the grocery, I would buy something that I had never tried before and then bring it home and figure out what to do with it, right? So we tried stuff like, I don't know, star fruit and rutabaga and parsnips, which turns out I love. And I don't even know, just like anything weird. I remember one time being like, I have never like cracked open a coconut from the store. So I'm doing it. Purchase. I remember the first time I cooked a lamb, I was like kind of scared because I was like, damn, I have never spent $35 on one cut of meat before. Like, what if I burn it and screw it up? That's a lot of money to just be like, oh, well, sorry, we're having pizza instead. So like there's all kinds of crazy things that we're scared of. If you have like kind of a straight laced job, you might be afraid to get like designs on your manicure or to wear giant earrings, or even though they look amazing on you or whatever. So it's what it is not so, is not so important. And even the degree of fear that you have around it is not important. It's anything that you have fear around, even if it's this much fear. You know, if you're terrified of bees, let's not start with bees. Okay? Let's start with, you know, wearing open toe shoes or something. If you're like, I don't know, feet are kind of gross. Something that you're kind of like about. That would be a good sort of measurement, not like, right? Something you're just a little, feel like a little twinge about it. Look at Olivia, said, I asked for help today after 3 months of holding back about a program. That's fantastic. Nia, I needed to hear this. Awesome. Heidi, super mean, post 3 Bs in her thing. Meanwhile, Cherry's like, Crystal, this one time I faced my fear of traveling alone and went on this amazing adventure with a amazing group of ladies I didn't know, and it has been life-changing. She's, of course, referring to coming here to Colorado from Canada for retreat, right? Which was just like a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. All right. So, hey, Jax. So what will you do today? What will you commit to today? I mean, like really small, really small. Maybe you always wear a nude color lipstick and you're ready to try red. Maybe you never wear lipstick and you want to try a color. Maybe you want to do something different with your makeup or wear your hair in a different way, or it doesn't have to be huge. Okay. No one's asking you to shave your head today, but something that you have been reluctant to do because of a fear. Heidi's posting more bees. If you do that today, if you commit to doing that every day for the next 2 weeks, just one tiny little thing, I promise you it's going to change your life in ways you can't even fathom right now. Okay, so what else is on here? Oh, if also what you can do if you want to even like constrain it even further, like take even tinier baby steps, is to just pick one aspect of your life. Like doing things that scare you just in your relationship or just around dating or just in your career or just in your wardrobe or your appearance. Or, you know, like you could just take one area of life and say, okay, every day I'm going to wear something that I'm kind of nervous to wear, right? You will not believe the shit you'll be rocking by the end of 2 weeks. It's mind-blowing. Okay, so take tiny things or pick one area of life and then just start noticing what you notice. I mean, for me, it was like after the first few days, I didn't even want to write stuff down in my email to Terry Go. I'm like, this seems so tiny. Like I wasn't even really scared. Like I can't even list that as things I did today that scared me because yeah, I might have been scared of this 5 days ago, but today I was like, it seemed fine. It seemed normal. That's how quickly we can rewrite these neural pathways, okay? So notice what you notice because these small little shifts will start spreading out into other areas of your life, and what looks scary is going to be redefined for you constantly. Okay, now I could tell you this was, I don't know, like 6 months ago or something. I haven't done it every day. I did it every day in the beginning, and then I started feeling more confident. And if I feel stuck, that's when Terry Go will usually remind me and go, hey, what about that thing you were doing where something scares you? Have you done any of that lately? Maybe it's time to step out and do something else. I go, yeah, okay, you're right. I think it's time. And I'm not like skydiving. I'm not, you know, feeding raw meat to wild lions. Although one might argue that would just be stupid and not scary. But, you know, I'm not like doing outrageous, crazy things, but my business has grown by leaps and bounds. And I just feel so much more, I don't know, unflappable in my life since I started doing this. Like I said, I never, even as a psychic, I could not have predicted the tremendous impact that this one tiny little thing would have on my life. So if you want to become bolder, if you want to become more courageous, if you want to feel more powerful and strong and confident, this is the key. And it's so simple and it will not cost you a cent to do this. Okay? It's just every day for the next 2 weeks, do one thing that scares you or makes you a little bit nervous, a little bit apprehensive. It's going to shift so much for you. I can't even tell you. All right. Now, speaking of not spending a cent, do you like that segue? I want to do something for you. So something happened today. I would say coincidentally, but I don't really believe in coincidence. So this morning I came across an audio meditation that I did. Oh my God, like 2009, 2011. I mean, it's old, right? And I was like, oh, what is this? And I played it and I actually did it, which you want to talk about weird, is record a guided meditation in your own voice that you've completely forgotten you did, and then lay down and actually do that meditation. You're like, wow, the voice in my head like is actually audible right now. It's super weird. But yeah, I did that. And I was like, this is so good. Like, I gotta bring this back. Where's this thing been hiding since 2009 or 11, however long it's been? It's too long. It's time to revive it. So here's what it is. I'm going to tell you what it is and how to get it. As some of you don't even have to do anything to get it, but I called it a prosperity treatment for attracting unexpected money and gifts. And that's exactly what it is. And it's like 20 minutes of magic. Okay. Cause I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is like so cool. It's just a guided audio. It's a guided visualization. So it's an audio. It's a downloadable audio. And it is designed to create more space in your field for receiving unexpected money, not like things that you know are coming or that you've been waiting on, but like out of the blue, gifts, surprises, opportunities, and cash. Okay. And here's how you get it. If you are already a member of my Patreon, then you've got it. Okay. Because I'm going to post it there today. Hold on one second. There. If you're not, this is the week to join, okay? Because everybody that joins Patreon, I just posted the link and pinned it. Everybody that joins Patreon this week is going to get this audio clearing for free, okay? And it's freaking awesome. If I was going to sell this as a standalone, I'd sell it for $97. Because it's badass. It's so good too. I'm like, how do I not remember making this? It's so cool. All right. So, but if you join Patreon this week, which is only $22 a month, I'm going to give you that for free. And if you already are on Patreon, you know I love you and appreciate your support. You're going to get this for free too. Okay. Because I don't want you to miss out. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for being here with me today. I'm really excited. And if you're in our Patreon group too, like our Facebook Patreon group, then you can share with me like what are you doing? What little things are you overcoming? Like what fears are you facing every day? We could start a little thread going on that. I think that would be really cool and really supportive of each other too. So yeah, all right, cool. That's it. Well, thanks for being here today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys in the Patreon group.